Today, we're going to be exploring how we can start to incorporate some props into our practice. And so, for that, we're going to start with a strap, a yoga strap, or a yoga belt. Now, if you don't have one of these, that's quite all right. You can use an old belt that you have. I'm even going to show you how you can use an old t shirt, beach towel, bathroom towel. So basically, the idea here is that the strap is going to extend our reach. So there's a pose called, or typically referred to as hand to big toe pose. And it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but essentially it's a balancing pose where you hook your big toe and then you extend your leg straight out and then out to the side. It's going to be hard for me to do this, but so you can see like actually reaching I'll show you from the side here. My shoulders are coming forward. I'm really having to go back. It's hard for me to get that shoulder loop going. And then finally, we take it across the body, which again, it's tough, as you can see, as I'm demonstrating. So we're not going to be doing it standing. So you can have a sigh of relief if you thought that's how we were starting off here today. We're actually doing this on the ground. And this is an awesome way to start your day, especially if you have a little bit lower energy, to really tap in, maybe start to open some things up and unlock some things. So I'm going to invite you to come into a reclining position. And again, if you don't have something to extend your reach, pause the video, go get that now. And like I said, like I've got my classic blood orange t-shirt here. So I'm going to be using that. And come on back. So hopefully you've got a yoga strap, an old belt, or something similar. It's going to help you extend, or like I said, at least an old T-shirt or something like that. And come onto your back, and we're going to make sure our props are somewhere nearby. And let's start by just laying down with the knees bent and the feet flat onto the ground. And I want you to put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Or if having one hand on the heart's not really comfortable because of your body, you can go ahead and put both hands on the belly. And either close your eyes, let your eyelids be heavy. If you really want them to be open, just stare straight up at a point above you. And I want you to take this time to really shift consciously into your breath. Not just taking that automatic rhythm that happens naturally, but starting to affect the depth and the length of each inhale and exhale. And from earlier lessons, you know that by on the inhale, pushing your diaphragm down, displacing the organs of your abdominal cavity, and then taking the ribs out in all directions, and then maybe a lift in the chest. That's all on the inhale. On the exhale, you just reverse that process. I'm just going to give you a moment here to practice this. Because when we start to add the sensations of the body, it becomes more difficult to focus on our diaphragm. So let's really set that rhythm as we start. Now, a nice way to add some more focus to this technique is to just slowly count as you inhale and count as you exhale. And just start to get points of reference, points of comparison, noticing how long each inhale and exhale is, with the idea of trying to lengthen the next one. And now, of course, that's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to keep lengthening. But just counting kind of helps you to sort of track that and keep your mind right here in your body. All right. So now let's start to add a little bit of that sensation, all the while trying to keep our focus on the breath. So I'll start the demonstration with just a towel here. So we're not going to like put it around our big toe. We're just going to put it around the entire foot. Now, you've got different parts of your foot. You've got your heel, you've got your arch, and you've got what's called the ball of the foot. And that's where the foot meets the toes. Okay, that kind of mound there. The ball of the foot is where I recommend you put the strap or your t-shirt or whatever. Most people naturally want to put it in their arch because it's almost like this groove that almost feels like it was sort of meant to be there. But if we put it on the ball of the foot, we're going to have a little bit more ability to sort of steer this pose and kind of explore different things and really get into the opposing action concept that we have talked about in previous lessons. So I'm going to take my t-shirt and I'm going to put it around the ball of my foot. Okay. Now it might look like it's around a little bit of my arch and stuff because of the t-shirt's wider. If it was a strap, you would see the bulk of it is right there. And I'm going to extend my arm straight and extend my leg straight. Now I'm going to keep this other knee bent, foot flat on the ground for a moment here as I explore. And I'm going to take 3 deep breaths here. So go ahead on your own, really start to breathe deeply as you create a little bit of sensation, most likely in the back of the leg, but it might show up for you in different places. So just take note. Remember, deep, slow breaths. And with each exhale, I want you to maybe go like 5% deeper. Okay, and this is a concept that I want to introduce as well. The concept of not going all the way to your 100%. So I'm not straightening my leg and pulling back as much as I can because it's going to be difficult for me to stay there. Instead, I just go to a point of about 50% where I can really just start to feel a bit of sensation in my body, which most people call a stretch, I would say. Be with that for a moment. And then on every exhale, go like 5%, maybe 10% deeper. Maybe try to straighten this leg a little bit more. If it's already straight, you can start to pull it back a little bit more. So some people, you might have your knee bent and you're still feeling a significant stretch. That's fine. So when you take your 5% deeper on your exhales, you're just going to be trying to kick that leg a little bit more straight and a little bit more straight and a little bit more straight. All right. So you should be at about your 3 breaths. So let's add some opposing energy to this. You want to reach up through your heel, and I want you to pull your toes back to your face. So my action is now going up and I'm reaching through my heel. This is also helping me to straighten my leg a little bit, but my toes are pulling back towards my face. Now for me, I feel a significant difference there. So I want to acclimate with a nice deep breath, maybe back out if you need to. All right, so now we're going to play with changing the other side of our body. So keep this leg straight the way it is. Don't take it back to where it came from. Keep it like frozen. And I just want you to notice the difference in sensation as you start to straighten the other leg out. So slowly, as you exhale, start to slide this other leg straight out and notice how the sensation changes, if it does. All right. So you might need to back out a little bit if that got significant. That's totally fine. On your exhale, 5% deeper perhaps, thinking about those opposing energies, pulling your toes back. Now, speaking of the toes, it's typically easier for people to bring their big toe and flex it back toward their face. It's a little bit harder to get into that pinky toe side. So that's where having the strap or t-shirt around the ball of your foot's helpful. I can use that hand that's on the pinky side and kind of pull a little bit more. When I do that, personally, I feel a little bit more in my calf muscle as well. 3 breaths here. And again, I want you to at least go for like a 4 second inhale, 4 second exhale count at minimum. That's pretty much the pace that I'll be doing on this video. If you can go longer, that's great. Please do so. Don't change your breathing depth because I'm, trying to teach, sort of just a bit for everyone to access this video. All right. So our last 3 breaths now, we're going to pay attention to this other leg again. So the straight leg that's on the ground, instead of it just kind of flopping out here, we're going to do the same action that we've been doing with this leg. So we've been reaching through the heel, pulling the toes back. All right. And really like trying to liven this up. So I'm going to reach my heel away from me as I pull my toes back. And I'm now starting to do the same thing with both legs here. And if things are getting intense. All right, so it might be uncomfortable, and that's sort of the point. I want you now to, in the face of discomfort, can you breathe and be with it, knowing that you're not injuring yourself, you're just stretching maybe a little bit deeper than you're used to. And notice if you kind of fell asleep with those legs a little bit, try to reinvigorate them on this last breath. All right. Now, I am going to end up with the towel or the strap in just my left hand. So I'm going to take it into my right hand, and now I'm going to reach it closer. So you want this hand to be pretty close to your foot, okay? You'd be surprised how close that you can get. So some people, it's like way back here, and that's a little bit too much. You want to create a little bit of a suspension bridge, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this straight leg and now drop it straight out to the side. Same thing. I'm pulling my toes back towards my face. I'm reaching my heel away from me. And this other leg is active. So we're not going to be here as long as that first round. But again, this probably gets into the inside of the leg, what's maybe typically called the groin muscle. Might even creep onto the medial or the inner hamstring muscle. But again, you might feel it on the hip, you might feel it in your shoulder. That's all valid. It's really about observing where you do feel it, staying connected as best you can with that breath, focusing in on what's happening right here and right now. You can even take this other hand and sort of push this side of the body down. There's sometimes a tendency to kind of roll over to that leg. So I'm using my core to kind of keep that other side down. Last breath here. Now I'm going to start to take my foot forward a little bit and bring it back up. So I'm kind of backing out and coming up. If I had a longer strap, which I'll show you on the other side, you can do this slightly different. I'll show you that on side 2. Now I'm going to put the strap in my other hand, my opposite arm, and I'm going to reach up. Now this is where a lot of people probably don't even need the strap. You can grab onto the pinky edge of the foot, but you want to be really close to the foot. So see, I'm lifting my head up off the ground, my shoulders up off the ground so I can get that reach, keeping this leg straight, let my head relax down, and now I'm taking my leg all the way across my body. I see I kind of shifted my hips back a little bit to adjust, and then I'm going to open my shoulder away, and I just got a real nice spinal firework there. If you're doing this early in the day, you might get that, little snap, crackle, pop. If you've never had that before, don't be alarmed. It's okay. If you have, it probably feels pretty good. I'm still reaching my heel away from my body as my toes pull back toward my body. I'm trying to get this opposite shoulder toward the ground. It's not there right now for me. It's kind of floating. My arm's sort of floating. That's all right. But another thing I see a lot is this leg, like way down here. You want to bring it up toward the waist. So it's like even at the waist. We'll just take 2 more breaths here. Now, this is a twist. And it's a really good idea to emphasize the exhales on the twist. So you're still taking big inhales, But the exhale, you're really pulling the belly in as you finish, and maybe even taking it up toward the heart. And if you do that, you can get a little bit deeper into the twist in this core. All right, last big breath here. Go for it. Nice. Now to come out, you're going to roll yourself back up. Let's do one more, pulling this leg now. So now we're really going for our 100%. Both legs are going in each direction. I know I'm only going to be here for one exhale, so I'm really exploring my edge. Now, as you come down, I really want you to reach your leg forward as it comes down, forward as it goes down, forward as it goes down, forward, forward, and down. And then pause for a moment. Bring your hands onto your belly and just feel the difference between the sides of your body. I know for me, this leg feels like it's 2 inches longer. Now let's do the other side. And on the second side, I'm going to use my yoga strap in case you have one of these. These aren't that expensive, and especially if you have tight hamstrings, this is a great investment. I mean, it's really, really nice. I would recommend about an 8-foot length. This is a 6-foot length, and it just barely does the trick. There's a couple other things that I'd like to do that's a little bit short for. So I really like an 8-foot length. They also come in 10-foot lengths. 10 foot's a little bit overdoing it. There's only a couple things you can do with that length, but like I said, I think 8 feet is really good value. All right, so right back. Now we're on the other side, and the first thing you can do is just kind of notice as you get into this is just the difference in your two sides. The first side that I did, I've been dealing with a little bit of a MCL strain, and so because of that, my body's been compensating. I could feel this leg is way tighter, and so this leg I don't feel as much sensation. Now, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of a technique if you do have a strap or a belt where instead of gripping on and holding this the whole time, I'm actually going to like wrap it around my wrist once or twice and then grip. And you can kind of like slide and sort of get that spot that works. And with that wrap now, it takes the pressure off of my hands, so it makes it a little bit easier. So deepen your breath. Again, we'll start with just 3 breaths here, easing 5 to 10% deeper as you explore what's going on in your body. And again, if your knee is really bent and you feel quite a bit, just your work is just straightening it a little bit every exhale. Now you see the length of this strap also allows me to have my shoulders down away from my neck and my ears a little bit more. Having this little bit of extra length can be nice. So some opposing action, reaching through the heel, point the toes back towards your face, and using whatever it is you have around your foot to sort of steer the pinky edge back to make sure that it's even with the big toe. So you kind of even that out. Because of course you can't overdo that as well. So keep the opposing action happening in this leg, right? The heel reaching toward the sky, the toes pulling back toward your face. Keep that happening. Freeze this leg in space. Don't let it move. And then slowly start to take your other leg straight out. 3 breaths here, 5% deeper with each exhale. If your mind starts to wander somewhere else, don't be mad at it. Mind do what the mind's gonna do. You're trying to train it, really. So just keep bringing that attention back to your breath, back to the sensations in your body, back to right here and right now. Let's get the other leg involved. So this leg that's straight out on the floor over here, we're going to reach that now. So we're going to activate that leg a bit more if you haven't already. If you've already got into that right away, that's great. So now both legs opposing action. Heel reaching away, toes reaching back. And just bring your awareness to your face, your jaw. And these last couple of breaths, see if you can relax a little bit there. All right. So now I'm going to take the straps into the same arm, same hand as my leg that's up. And I'm going to reach up and I'm going to grab on here. And again, I'm going to do that same thing. I'm actually going to wrap it around my wrist once or twice first. I'm going to let it slide down. So when I wrap back up, I'm pretty close to my foot. Again, within about 12 inches or so of your foot, depending on your body. Now I'm going to keep this leg straight. I'm going to keep this leg down. I'm going to slowly take it out to the side. Now I even like to bend my elbow a little bit and set that down on the ground. So my hand's a little bit too close to my foot. So I'm going to unravel it, slide it down, reconnect. Now I can easily put my elbow down, keep it bent, and I've created this little suspension bridge so I'm not holding it up. And again, remember, you don't want to hang out down here somewhere. You're really trying to work this back at least to waist height. Some people can probably get it a little bit higher, sort of like like a cheerleader on top of a pyramid type of thing. But you don't have to get there. Like, I'm not trying to say like that's your destination point. But if you have that in your practice and your body, of course, you just want to keep exploring safely for the sensation to help ground you, almost like it's trying to distract you from your breath. And your practice is to stay with your breath. So we did about 10 to 12 breaths with the legs straight up in the air. With this one, I'd say about 5 to 7 deep breaths if you're going to incorporate this into a routine or come back to this if this feels good. But this is another one that really can help to unravel if you've got sort of some lower back issues. All right, so now I'm going to show you another way to transition. So I have a longer strap now. So before, my t-shirt was kind of too short for me to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let some strap out. So now it's way longer, you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like a half, like actually a quarter circle. So I'm going to hover my foot just above the ground. And I'm going to take it, and then my toes are going to kind of naturally start to face the sky again. That's my hip rotating in place. And then I'm going to start to reel this leg back in as I switch sides. So now I'm going to put the straps into my other hand. You can see I'm setting it up. I'm wrapping it around my wrist. And again, I'm getting close to that foot. So now I would say definitely within 12 inches of the foot, probably more like in between 6 inches or even grabbing the pinky edge. And then keeping that leg straight, taking it across. Now, even if you stopped here, like this is a pretty big stretch in this outer hip. And then I'm going to keep going, and you'll be able to see how I shift my hips. So I'm going to slide my hips back a little bit, and I got another little spinal Rice Krispie treat. And then now, so this shoulder is way closer to the ground than the other side. So I'm just kind of noticing that. And again, we want this leg across our body to be about even with the waist. We don't want to drop it down here. So we want to keep it about even with the waist. And again, about 5 to 7 breaths here. And this will end our practice of using the strap, practicing this concept of easing in to the full intensity of a stretch, like taking an exhale 5% at a time, and then doing this nice little 3 pose sequence of like reclining hand to toe pose, you could call it, or just, you could even call it just reclining leg stretches. But you don't need to really call it anything, but do it. Definitely do it. Remember, we're accentuating the exhales here. So really, as you finish the exhale, pull it into the body, pull it up toward the heart, and you might feel some things kind of shift around in there. Don't be alarmed. That's quite all right. And then after an exhale, don't do it just because I'm moving, but after you finish an exhale, slowly start to unravel it out. Take this leg and foot all the way back up. Really go for it. Both legs reaching in both directions. Go all the way to your edge. And then again, reaching the foot out as it goes down, out and forward as it goes down, out and forward, out and forward. And relax. You can just let the strap be. Both hands on the body. If you've got the time, you can hang out here for a minute or two. And just feel, watch. Now, when you're done, you'll bend both knees, put them flat on the ground again. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the knees toward the chest, extend one arm, and just roll over into a fetal position. So your head is kind of pillowed by your upper arm. And place your opposite hand and sort of in front of your chest. And that way you can push yourself up onto your forearm and elbow. Sort of pause here. And then walk both hands underneath. Sit up nice and tall for a moment. Thank yourself. Feel, take that quality that you've been creating as you go forward in your day. So again, using a strap can help us increase our reach. Using our exhales as a way to kind of go like 5% deeper and practice. It's not a watching thing. It's not a thinking about a thing. It's a doing thing. So see you next time.